All right, welcome to another episode of the Common Man's Take on Sports. With Kevin and
Quentin.
all right, we're sitting here watching the night games of the college football week 2. We'll cover that in another podcast later. Right now, we want to NBA season's around the corner, and Quentin here wanted to cover some of the transactions that have happened in the NBA over the summer, and then he specifically wanted to talk a little bit about the Lakers and their moves. So I'm going to let you start off, Quentin.
Okay, so, what I think about the Lakers' moves is that I think these moves are going to be good for the Lakers, this season. I'm not, but one thing about these moves, I think they should have let, D'Angelo Russell go and got another point guard. He can't really play defense, and that's gonna really impact on when they play in the regular season in October. Adding Christian Wood was a good move for them. So, and they also added Jackson Hayes. That's a good move too. Then those two would probably be able to compete for that starting center position, and then so that will move Anthony Davis up to the power forward position. So, pretty good moves in the offseason. Re-signing Austin Reeves was good. It was okay. Re-signing Rui Hachimura was a really good one. He was a good player last year. They got what else they get?
I'm going to go ahead and weigh in a little bit here while you're looking at what you want to look at. So I'm going to start with the June 29th, their first official offseason move, right after the draft. So they waived Mo Bamba and Shaquille Harrison, which I thought were two good moves. I just don't think that Mo Bamba fit what they wanted to do. He didn't get much playing time. I like the signing of Gabe Vincent and Taurean Prince and Cam Reddish. I think those are all, not necessarily Gabe Vincent, but Prince and Reddish were two moves to kind of shore up that defense a little bit. Cam Reddish is a decent defender, and so is Prince. Prince is getting a little older, but he's still a decent defender. Jackson Hayes, he might be a good. I don't know. I'll see how that works out. I don't think he's necessarily a great defender, but he might provide a little bit of offense and spell Anthony Davis. Re-signing Austin Reeves is okay. I don't feel one way or the other about it. I know that defensively he's a little bit of a liability, but he does try to play defense, and he plays with a lot of heart. So you can't teach heart. So I think that's okay. He's a fan favorite too. Like, the fans love him in LA. So that's not a bad re-signing. I agree about the Rui Hachimura. I think that's a good signing. Re-signing him, keeping him there. He was actually a very important part of their offense last year in the playoffs. All the way up until they lost to Denver. But even against Denver, he had some pretty good plays. Hachimura is a very good player off the bench for them. Reminds me a little bit of a Robert Horry. Probably not quite as good as Robert Horry, but he kind of reminds me of that type of player. Good player to come off the bench, give you some instant offense. I will say that in the playoffs, he tried hard to play defense, so kudos to him for putting in that effort. Christian Wood, signing him. I think that's good because he plays forward, but he can play center also, a little bit of center. So that gives us somebody who could play two positions to help him out a little bit. Especially Anthony Davis has been a little injury prone the last couple of years.
Yeah, so that's gonna.
Yeah, that'll help him there. I'm with you. I wasn't super excited about the re-signing of D'Angelo Russell. I think they should have let him walk. He's a defensive liability, and his offense is spotty at best. He's a streaky shooter. One night he'll be on fire, and the next night, everybody's looking around going, "Where's D'Angelo Russell at?" He's in the playoffs. He just completely disappeared. They benched him a lot because of his defensive liability and his spotty offense. He got benched for other players in the playoffs. So I don't think that was necessarily a great move to re-sign him. I agree with you there. I feel like they probably could have got something better on the open market, but we'll see how that works out for him. I guess maybe LA's thinking his second year in the offense and the scheme, maybe he'll get better. I don't think he will. I think at the end of the day, they're going to end up trading him probably around either before or around the trade deadline. I just don't think he fits with this team, and I don't think he's consistent enough to play with this team. I do like the Hood Schiaffano draft pick. I think he could potentially be pretty good player for them. We'll see what happens. He had a pretty decent summer league. Not great, not bad, just pretty average. So they have some pieces. Did they add enough or do enough to get over the hump against Denver? Probably not. Denver kept most of their team together. I believe they only lost one player, and that was Brown, which is huge for them because he was good off the bench. But for the most part, it's going to be tough to catch Denver, man. Denver is tough. They proved it last year, and I think they're going to be tough again this year. Go ahead.
Signing Gabe Vincent was... it was okay. It was an okay move. I'm not saying that it was a bad move. I'm just saying that it's kind of... he's...
So I'll tell you right now, that move was to provide some shooting around LeBron and AD.
Yeah.
The problem with that is, LeBron will never be a player that you're afraid of him shooting the three-pointer. That's what you want him to do. You want him to shoot the three-pointer because your odds of him missing the three-pointer are pretty good. He's not, he's an okay three-point shooter, but he's not, you're not afraid of him out there on the three-point line. And nobody's ever been. So Gabe Vincent was an addition for shooting to surround Anthony Davis and LeBron with shooters. So that's why they signed him specifically, because he's known as he was a good shooter off the bench for Miami. He gave them some very solid minutes in the playoffs. But that's why for him is they signed him because he's a shooter.
Yeah, that is true.
For me,
I do like
Cam Reddish they signed Reddish. He's not necessarily a scorer, but he's a decent defender. They signed Reddish to offset the Gabe Vincent signing, right?
Yeah.
You got one offensive player, one defensive player. So if you need to, you can swap offense and defense, depending on how the game's going.
So letting go Mo Bamba was a good move for them. Letting Malik Beasley walk, Schroeder. I don't think they should have let Schroeder. I think Dennis Schroeder could have stayed there, but I think they probably signed Gabe Vincent to fill in that Dennis Schroeder hole right there.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Schroeder wasn't the greatest defender, but he did play defense. So we'll see if Gabe Vincent buys into their defensive scheme or not. we'll see what happens. But maybe they can find a way to kind of work him into a system where he doesn't have to be a elite defender. Just decent.
Yeah. Okay.
So
go
ahead.
Drafting Jalen Hood-Schifino was a good move for them too. I think he is a decent player coming out of Indiana.
Yep.
And I think he'll have a good rookie season this year.
Yeah, I think he'll have a decent rookie season. I don't think he's going to get a ton of minutes, but I think he'll see some spot duty here and there. I don't think that they'll put him in the G League. I think he'll actually get to play a little bit in the NBA this year. I know sometimes rookies go down to the G League before they get to come up, but I think he'll get to play.
Yeah. I think he'll get some playing time in there.
All in all, I think the moves were okay. Obviously, they have room to make more moves during the season if they want to. So there's that. I still think that they'll move D'Angelo Russell sometime during the season, either before the trade deadline or at the trade deadline. I just don't think he's going to fit the scheme of this team and what they want to do. While we're on the subject of the NBA, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I do think that they'll probably sooner or later they'll probably trade D'Angelo Russell, and they'll probably get tired of just watching him not play defense. So eventually they'll trade him. Okay.
All right, so while we're on the subject of NBA, I'd like to talk about a couple other moves that I thought were interesting. One was the Boston Celtics. I was surprised, one, that they traded Marcus Smart to Memphis. He was there, although he had his problems, and I feel like he's a dirty player. He was their best defender. And so they dumped him. And then they got Porzingis, which is, I get why they got him. They got him for offense. He's an okay defender. He can get you some blocks here and there, but he's definitely not a rim protector.
He's not.
So what surprised me was then, after that, they turned around and they traded Grant Williams to the Dallas Mavericks. They did a sign and trade basically and traded Grant Williams to the Mavericks, which was another good defender on their team. And so I'm sitting here thinking, why are they getting rid of all their defenders and just loading up on offensive players? If you want to look at a team historically that was all offense and no defense, go back and look at those Phoenix Suns teams with Steve Nash on them, and Amari Stoudemire and Sean Marion. Man, they could score a bunch of points, but they couldn't play any defense, and so they never won anything. They'd always get stopped in the playoffs by a team who played defense, like the Lakers or the Spurs or somebody of that nature. So I was a little surprised at the Boston Celtics moves as far as that goes. That's interesting to me. I see they re-signed Jaylen Brown, which I think was a good move. To be quite honest, I think that Jaylen Brown is a better player than Jason Tatum. I don't know why Jason Tatum gets so much more press than Jaylen Brown. If you go back and look in the playoffs last year, Jaylen Brown carried them in most of those games. Jason Tatum is a volume shooter. Man, that dude will go 0 for 30 sometimes before he gets his first shot at the game. Matter of fact, there was a game where he didn't score his first point until the fourth quarter. I'm surprised at that. We'll see how it works out for the Celtics, but that was interesting and a surprise for me.
That's also a surprise to me. I did not actually think that they would trade Marcus Smart and then trade Grant Williams. Those were two great defenders. I mean, Marcus Smart could play offense and defense, so I don't understand why they traded him. I don't understand why they traded Grant Williams either, because he could play defense. Kristaps Porzingis can play defense, but he's
not
like you said, he's not a
rim protector.
Yeah.
Grant Williams wasn't necessarily a rim protector, but he was a good defender. I know Marcus Smart made some dumb decisions. For as many good defensive decisions he made, he also made decisions that got them penalized, got them technicals. So I get it. If they wanted to move on from Marcus Smart, I get it. But letting go of Grant Williams too, that was the move. Letting go of both of your defenders, that's what surprised me. I was kind of like, wow, both the defenders. And you thought they would have kept one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At least they could have kept one, but nope. They traded both of them. I mean, they need those defensive players, but if they can't play defense, then they won't be winning championships, because they've got to have a good defense.
We'll see how it works out for them. I don't know.
Yeah, but
That was surprising. The last team I want to kind of talk about who made some major waves and moves this offseason were the Phoenix Suns. So they acquired Bradley Beal, Jordan Goodwin, and Isaiah Todd from Washington in a 3-team deal, also involving the Pacers. They sent Chris Paul and Landry Shamet and 5 future second-round picks, 4 future pick swaps, and cash considerations to Washington, and 1 future second-round pick to the Pacers. And then Washington sent a future second-round pick to Indiana. And so what surprises me about this is that they already have Devin Booker. So Devin Booker and Bradley Beal essentially play the same position, right? So one of them is going to have to play small forward, but that makes for kind of a small forward, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How tall is Bradley Beal?
He's 6'4".
Yeah, and Devin Booker is what, 6'6"?
Let me see, 6'5". Yeah.
That's just basically Bill and Booker play the same position. So are they going to try to force one of them to learn how to play point guard? Is that their? Everybody's picking them now to be the favorite in the West, but I'm just not buying it yet, because how are you going to put that lineup on the floor? And so for me, that means that whichever one of them two plays small forward, that's probably going to be a liability on defense. And then if you try to force one of them to play point guard, I mean, Bill is a decent facilitator, and so is Booker, but they're not point guards. So you're going to try to force one of them to be predominantly a point guard? That doesn't make sense to me. I don't know how that lineup's going to work. That's interesting. I saw they signed Eric Gordon, which I think is a good signing. Gordon's still a good role player, probably to come off the bench to help them out. But I don't know. And then they traded Cameron Payne, who I thought would replace Chris Paul as a starting point guard, but they traded him too. So I don't even know if they have any true point guards on their team anymore.
Yeah, me either. Trading Chris Paul was a good move for them, but Cameron Payne, at least they could have kept Cameron Payne. At least they could have kept him to solve their point guard position. But I do agree. They basically do play the same position. Booker plays shooting guard. Beal plays shooting guard. They're pretty much. Booker's just 1 inch taller than Beal, so that doesn't make sense.
It's kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
Then they signed Bobo, which is okay. He'd be a good backup center to DeAndre Ayton, but I don't know. That's interesting. Not really sure what they were thinking there. I guess we'll find out.
Maybe they're thinking.
Maybe they're gonna let Kevin Durant handle the ball coming up the floor. I guess. I don't know. Maybe let Kevin Durant kind of play a LeBron James role where he's a point forward. I mean, Kevin Durant can handle the ball. I don't know if he's that kind of player like that, but he can. So maybe that's what they're going to try to have him do, is be a point forward and kind of predominantly bring the ball up the floor to facilitate those two in itself. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. But that one's interesting to me.
Yeah, that is interesting. Signing Bobo. It was good. It was a good one. He'll be a good back. Yeah, I do agree. He will be a good backup for DeAndre Ayton. I do think maybe Kevin Durant could handle the ball like a LeBron James. Do point guard or and a forward, and it could happen.
It'd be more of a point forward, not a point guard. They just a forward bringing the ball down the floor. The only person that was ever successful at playing point guard at 6'9" was Magic Johnson. He predominantly played point guard.
Oh, yeah.
LeBron James he brings the ball down a lot, but not all the time. So that's why you kind of call it a point forward, because he's that doesn't bring the ball down the field all the time. You still have your point guard, but you're just an alternate ball handler. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how they work that out. It's going to be interesting.
Yep, it's going to be really interesting.
I know the preseason for the NBA, I believe, starts in October, so it's coming up fast. Man, it's fall. You can tell it's fall. All the fall sports are starting. We got football now, NFL to Sunday tomorrow. We'll get to see all those games. We're finishing up watching these college games today. We're going to be busy all fall. There's going to be a lot of games to talk about and a lot of games to watch. So yeah, that's the fall sports are in.
Yep, they're in.
I do want to take a minute to talk about that Chiefs-Bills game.
Chiefs-Lions.
Smacked myself there. Chiefs-Lions game. Thank you. I called it. What I say? 21-17 Lions. They won 21-20, so I was close.
Yep.
But I thought the Lions would have a chance to win that one, especially with Kelsey out and the Chiefs were missing a couple of their defensive players.
Yeah, they're missing Chris Jones.
I think that the Lions are sneaky good, and I think that the people are sleeping on them, and I think they're going to continue to kind of surprise people here at the beginning of the season. Because I think the Lions are better than people think they are. They've had some very good draft picks here the last few years. They've been slowly building a really good team. They've had a couple of trades that worked out in their favor. And, man, I think the Lions are going to be sneaky good. I look for them to be in the hunt for that NFC North title.
Yep.
So, I'm excited to watch some more NFL games tomorrow. How about you?
Oh, yeah, I'm very excited. Very.
Take some of that in, see what's going on. Man, it's football season.
Yep.
Uh, that is going to do it for this show. I will say that one more real quick thing before we end the show about the Detroit Kansas City game. So Kansas City was in control of that game for most of the game. So, I don't know if Travis Kelce makes a huge difference. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Because Kansas City was in control of that game for most of the game. Detroit took that lead late in the fourth quarter. And so that was pretty interesting to me. Like, Detroit kind of, got that touchdown in the fourth, and then held Kansas City to a field goal in the fourth. And, that, I think Detroit's going to surprise some people. They had some pretty good offense. Not bad, Detroit. I like it.
Yeah, not bad.
All right, that'll do it for our show today. We thank you for listening. And don't forget, we are on YouTube now. We have a YouTube channel under the same name as our show, Common Man's Take on Sports. We have a Facebook page, Common Man's Take on Sports. If you can't find if your friends can't get to our shows through podcast, please send them in that direction for YouTube and Facebook, and we post our episodes on there too, so people can listen to them. If you do have access to podcasts, then we please ask you to subscribe to our podcasts on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. We're on most platforms now, so you can access our podcast from just about anywhere. So please subscribe. Please hit that like button. And again, we thank you for listening. We hope you continue to listen. We hope you enjoyed our show. And we'll see you next show.